In this training video, we're going to look at using Microsoft PowerPoint for a assessment purpose or for quizzes. If people who were in training or wanted to do some kind of recapping activity from some kind of event and they wanted to use PowerPoint as part of that recapping activity. So in this example, we've got a grid board which has nine numbers, 1 to 9. Now what the idea is here, every time someone presses a number, when it's in slideshow mode, that number should then disappear. They click on the button behind it, which takes to a question. So for example, question 1 would link to slide 3, which asks a question on roles and responsibilities. When that question's answered, it then takes you to slide 4 to give the answer, and then you go back to return to quiz, back to slide 2, and then the number 1 should disappear. So that's what we're going to create together. Now number 3 has already been set up, so I'll demonstrate then number 1 and number 3 when I've demonstrated number 1 in this activity. So what we're going to do here, we're going to use hyperlinks and triggers to enable us to control this assessment grid. So I'm going to click on the blue rectangle. Now this grid, just to show you how this grid was created, this grid was created through insert, shapes, rectangles, and just creating a number of rectangles. And for example, the blue one is one rectangle, the number is a second rectangle, and then it is just typing in the second rectangle, and it's been resized. So I put a white border around it so we can see there's two different objects. So what I'm going to do with the number 1, I'm first going to click on the blue rectangle, and then going to go to link and insert a link. Now we can choose what slide we want to link to. So in this example, I could choose existing slide or place in this document. So I'm going to go place in this document. And I'm going to leave it on slide 3. So I'm going to choose slide 3 in this example. So I wanted to go to the slide 3 as a hyperlink. Okay, and then what I wanted to happen is also the same for slide 3 to go to slide 4 as a hyperlink. So the answer, I need that to be linked, and the same process has happened here already. That's already been linked, placed in this document to slide 4, which is the answer. Okay, and then if we go back then to slide 4, return to quiz and go back to the quiz, that's been hyperlinked already, and that goes back to slide 2, which is the grid. So what should happen when someone clicks on number 1 in this example, the number 1 should disappear. We click on the blue rectangle, that should take us to the question. Someone would have then answered the question, that then takes us to slide 4. When slide 4 is then being checked, we return to quiz, and then back in the quiz, the number 1 should disappear. So we've set the hyperlink up. Now for the number itself, we need to do what's called an animation here. And because we want this number 1 to disappear, it's going to be an animation. And we're going to do what's called a exit animation because we want it to, in effect, disappear. We want it to exit and disappear as a number. So when I click on disappear, now it shows me it's set up as a disappear. Now we can control through the animation pane different triggers we can now control. So for example, the rectangle, which I'm going to click on number 3, has already had a trigger set up for it. So these triggers are the way we control numbers to make sure that they disappear when we come back to the grid. Now if I look at number 1 and I click on the right there, it hasn't got a trigger yet, so we're going to set a trigger for this rectangle, which happens to be called 12.1. Now to set the trigger for 12.1, I need to map it to the same trigger number. So when I come through the drop down arrow, go to Effect Options, and all your triggers are on time-ins. There's a triggers button down the bottom, click the arrows. I don't want it to be part of a sequence, I want to control the trigger myself by starting the effect on click of whatever object it happens to be. So I want it to, when I click, it's going to affect my trigger, which happens to be 12.1 I'm looking for. So there's 12.1. So all I'm doing is matching the trigger to the name of the rectangle itself in the number 1 case, this case. I'm now going to click OK. And we're now going to test it. So it should work for number 1, where I click on the number 1, then go to the rectangle, take a question in, go back to the quiz board from slide 4, and then we'll try slide 3 and then we'll try number 3 as well. So we're going to go into a slideshow from current slide. We're going to test it. So say now somebody said I want question 1. So I'm going to click on number 1, and number 1 disappears. Now the question is actually attached to the hyperlink on the blue rectangle. So I'm going to click on the blue rectangle behind number 1. Here's the question. You'd give, if you had 2 groups, you'd ask both groups at this time to write their answers down without telling each other. So they've both got it written down. Whoever group it is whose question this is, you then say, okay, we're going to just check the answer now, but you know that both answers are written down. We check the answer, and if the group who had the question had the correct answer, they get the points. If they didn't, then you can open up the points to the other group and give them a reduced point, but if they get it right, they get a point. Now we want to return to quiz. Now you see number 1's gone, so we can't ask question 1 anymore. So let's try number 3 now. So number 3, it's gone. Now click on the, in this case, the rectangle to go to a question. That's going to records. Going to check the answer. This one's on a animation itself, so the little bullet points that come in one at a time, so we could check the answers like this. We can recap one at a time, and it's good for reinforcing methods. And go again and again. And now return to quiz. And now we can see 2 of the numbers are gone. So if we kept going and going and going, we'd complete the quiz board for all 9 numbers. And it's a good way of having competitive assessment through PowerPoint. So I'm going to show you a completed example. I'm going to escape this. And I've got another example which has been completed. And we'll just look at how this works if I go through this quiz board, which has been set up for a couple of numbers. So I'm going to put it into slideshow. So I'll go number 5 this time. Get the button behind it. That takes me to a question. Find the answer. There's the answer. Return to quiz. Someone says that this time they want question number 7. 7's gone. Question. Here's the question. Answer. This one's on an animation. There we go. Return to quiz. And one more. We'll do 9 in this example. There's the question. Check the answer. We've got the ideas there of the answer. Return to quiz. And you keep going then until you can complete the quiz board, or one of the teams win early. Depends on how they, and if they still win early, you could still then do a recap and make up some other kind of little competition to finish off the quiz board. So this gives you an idea how to use assessment within PowerPoint in quizzes using what's called animations and triggers, as well as using hyperlinks to hyperlink to other areas of a presentation.